What's going on, everybody? We're going to do Monday roundups on a Wednesday. We have the Ravens and the Steelers playing at 3:40 Eastern. I figured we'll do a quick recap on what's going on in the league, see where everybody's at, and who needs what for today's game. First up, let's talk about the Illuminati versus Optimus Prime. The game is exactly how we thought the game was going to go. We all figured Prime was going to win. Robert does have a kicker and a DL left to play. Prime only has one IDP, but he's right. I mean, Illuminati's almost down by 59 points. He's not going to win. And that is the way it always been. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about Flaming Dragons versus Life's a Mitch. And Flaming Dragons, he's up by almost 80 points. Actually, over 80 points. 86 points right now. He does have, I believe, Roethlisberger left to play. The game's over. Unfortunately for Lysa Mitch, when your quarterback scores you -2 points and Cam Newton, you can't win. You can't win when your quarterback scores you negative points, unless you're following Misfits last week. Next up, you have Philly Miracle Men versus Unnecessary Roughness, and this was a must-win for Milan. I don't see him winning this game. Especially, like I said, you can't win games when your quarterback gets you -2.78 points. It's not possible. Your quarterback needs to get you at least 15 to 20 points for you to win a game. Milan does have 2 IDPs, but he's down by 54 points right now. It's over. Unfortunately for Roughness, it's going to make him miss the playoffs this year. He had a shot to keep in contention, and he lost. Unfortunately. Next up, you have Agent Steel versus Spartans of Sabatica. And unfortunately for the Spartans, I mean, he's playing for pride right now, but he scored more than half the league, but he's also ran into the team that scored the second most points so far this week. I mean, the commission, he has Watson, he has Robinson, and he has Chubbs. They're all combined. I think they scored over 100 points, just those 3 players. So I mean, yeah, it's way over his average. He was averaging the last 4 weeks 237, but when your 3 players score you over 100, I guess it's going to put you up there. Next up, let's talk about Vlad Jr. Crew versus Curly Lamborghini, and this is a great win for Lamborghini. I'm going to call it. I mean, Vlad Jr. Crew, he has a couple players. He has Justice Hill, and I believe he has Harrison left to play, but I mean, Lamborghini's got Gus Edwards, Ebron, Tucker. I believe the Steelers defense, and Dupree left to play. So Lamborghini's gonna get the W. He's gonna stay in contention. He's might have a chance for a flex week 13 win to move into that 8th spot in the playoffs. Next up, we're gonna talk about Orange Crush versus Likely Losers, who is probably losers. I don't see his one IDP coming into play, scoring roughly 70-some points, especially with Orange Crush having a couple players left to play. The game's over. Likely Losers is definitely losers in this game. Next up, we have No More, who in the last couple weeks you would have thought he was going to be a definite loser here. He comes in, he's going to score, he's at 346. He has, 3 players left to play. He has, Des Bryant, the Ravens, and Williams left to play versus Bills Mafia, who's in first place. And the loss, puts him in a tie for, first overall in the league, which is $50 money right off the bat if you win the league. But for Bills Mafia, I don't think he's going to be able to pull off. He has Snell left to play. He has Hilton. He has Clark. But he's down by, almost 100 points at this point. It's over for him, unfortunately, and he hopefully wins next week to get that first overall money. Next up, we have Powers of Pain versus Zebras. And Sue's, as I predicted earlier in the week, or last week at this point, Sue's team's doing pretty good lately. I mean, she's averaging over 300 points. Last 2 weeks, she's putting up decent amount of points. Her team's a team to watch out for. I think she's sneaking up on people, and people now are starting to take notice that she's a force. And as we'll see in the League of Champions, that she proved me wrong. That I didn't think she was going to be able to beat Milan. I didn't think she was winning again to next year. But as we'll see, what's going on in the League of Champions. As we switch over to League of Champions, first up we're going to talk about a game that nobody really cared about. I mean, nobody likes the commish. And you have Robert and Templars. Nobody thought Templars was going to win. I mean, Robert's going to go 1-11 in the LOC, 0-12 in Dynasty. I don't think he wins either game next week unless the commish gives him a nice easy win. But even then, I mean, Robert might blow both those games and still lose. So nobody cares. Let's move on. Next up, you have the Architect versus Ellie Island, and unfortunately for Fighting Geese, Brandon's going to lose this game. Ellie Island's going to outscore him by probably 30, 40 points, and the Architect's going to lose unless he gets some overachieving from McFarland, who's done basically nothing all week up to this point. I mean, most points he scored is 4.10. And then he has, McCoy got him nothing. Kyler Murray didn't do anything for him. That was a big trade he did. And he has Des Bryant. I gave him a hard time about starting Des Bryant last week, and I'm pretty sure he got him a decent amount of points. 6 points last week, so. But it's not going to be enough for him to get the W. It's not going to be enough for him to move into the consolation playoffs. And that's going to hurt Geese because she has his first overall pick, or first round pick, I should say. Next up, we have Canadian Guy versus True North. And unless Chris does something dramatic next year, I mean, his team should be just changed to True South. Because that's the way his team's heading. I mean, Chris was a juggernaut in the beginning of the LOC, but fortunately, for him right now, or fortunately for the rest of the league, his team's going down the shitter. Next up, let's talk about the Green Lightning versus Beelzebub. And first glance, you're like, oh, this game's close, and then you realize Beelzebub has no way left to play. Green Lightning takes the W. Does he have a chance for a flex 13 win to make it back into the playoffs? I mean, he was 6-1 at 1 point. He's lost the last 4 games. He's 6-5. Puts him at 7-5. He needs to win, next week to even have a shot to make the playoffs. But he keeps at it, and it's possible. We gotta see what the rest of the league does. Next up, we have the 6 versus Fighting Geese, and I know I've been giving Suze, crap all the last 2 weeks that I didn't think she was gonna win another game to next year. But when the 6's quarterback Derek Carr scores negative 6.4 points, he's not gonna win. I mean, it is what it is here. I mean, the 6 has a couple players got him 0 points. He does have Ravens defense to play. It's possible if they were playing like the Jets, maybe they can get him 20 some points. But unfortunately, it is too little this week for him to get the W. I'm gonna call for Suze. I think she's gonna win. I think she's gonna get her 60th win. Congrats. And you're probably not gonna win next week, Suze. Next up, we have BC Lions versus Too Good for a Name. And I mean, Too Good for a Name. I mean, Luke, you put up 295 this week. Your team overachieved. I'm pretty sure you were projected to score roughly around 200 points. And you got Tom Brady. You have Boston Scott, who came out of nowhere, got you 12.7. Debo and the Giants defense. Even the Giants defense almost got you 20 points here. It keeps you in the playoffs. You didn't lose to BC Lions, whose team is on par with Templars and the Architect right now with all the trades you did. So yeah, good for you. Too Good for a Name. Next up, you have the 12th Man versus Suahino. And the 12th Man, this was a must-win game for both these teams. And we all know what team is going to win. Suahino is going to come in here. He's going to win. He has 2 IDPs left to play versus the 12th Man. And he has, a linebacker 1 to play. So he probably going to even win when his his flex 3 got him negative 8 points. Yes, he has Hinton, who got him negative 8.28 points, and he's still probably going to win this week. What crazy world we live in where you get negative 8 points from a player and you can still win. Moving on, we have the Age Crew versus Storm. And unfortunately for Adrian, he's losing by 80 points here. Krista has 2 linebackers left to play, but the H crew, he has Roethlisberger, he has Schnell, he has Cesspool. At first glance, you're like, the H crew Adrian does not have a shot here. And I think he's going to probably put up roughly, 230, 240 points this week. It's possible that he comes back and somehow finds a way to win. I know he's projected to get 208, and I'm projecting Roethlisberger to probably throw about 20 to 30 points, even against the Ravens defense. Claypool, he's averaging about 12 to 20 points a week. It's possible, he makes this actually. Adrian gives us a run for Storm's money here. Next up is Life's a Miss for Sabatica Spartans. And fortunately for Spartans, the game's over. He has nobody left to play. His quarterback got him -2 points. Life's a Mitch. He's probably going to be up after this week, up by 20, or more points on the points for money over the H crew. And Joshua, congratulations on winning that money. You do a great job as the IT manager of the LOC, and I'm happy for you. There's your payment, $50. Next up is Deuce Bombers, the game of the week versus Fallen Misfits. And as I predicted, if Fallen Misfits rookie running backs let him down, Jonathan Taylor didn't even play. Edwards, Hilaire, he got him 5 points. That's what happens when you have rookie running backs. They're either bust or home run hitters. And unfortunately this week for Fallen Misfits, they were both bust. He does have Patrick Queen left to play. But, Patrick Queen, his best week, he did score 33 points. But against the Steelers, I don't see it. I don't see him putting up, 30 points for the win. He needs, 30, little less than 30 points. So 29.94 or 96, points to win. So it's possible, but 99.999% of the way, Deuce Bombers is going to win this week. It's a W for Deuce Bombers. Congrats, Deuce Bombers, on the American Division, first place money. And then we'll see all what happens in Flex Week 13. All right, have a great day, everybody, and we'll see what happens after the game today.